All right, on the bench today, I have a 5R110W that I'm rebuilding out of a 2006 Ford E450 Super Duty with a 5.4. All right, this transmission actually was built some time ago, not by me, but got towed in by a wholesale account. 1 minute the guy was driving, and the next minute the car didn't go anywhere. So at that point, you know something snapped, and something did snap in the transmission. So the reason for this video is because I'm actually, the best way I could say it is I'm actually making an exception. And what I mean by that is when I build a transmission, you know when I build a transmission, take for instance a ZF. I'm using a ZF overhaul kit, I'm using ZF frictions, OE solenoids, OE pan filter. When I'm doing a 6L80 out of a Chevy, I'm using AC Delco pistons, I'm using AC Delco Techum, even though there are off-brand Techums, I won't use them if you gave them to me. Trans-Tech overhaul kit, Exity frictions. But on this 5R110W, I'm actually making an exception, and I'm using an aftermarket part over the OE part. All right, only because the aftermarket part, believe it or not, is made much better than the OE part. So what happened with this, and when I was on the phone with the owner and he was telling me, hey, I got this, truck being towed in, it's a guy down the street, and it's a huge shop and they do a lot of trucks there. He told me what was going on, and I kind of knew right away what was happening. I said, okay, yeah, I kind of know what's going on. It's going to need a transmission. It's going to be X amount, and I think by the time that it got here and we put it on the lift, he called up and he said, do it, because it's a delivery truck and they need it. So what happened with this was, and this transmission was built before, was the coast drum. These have a problem with the coast drum, which is the drum right behind the pump, and the drum splits in two at the seam, and then that's it, you are finished. So I'm rebuilding this, and I got an aftermarket coast drum over the OE Ford coast drum. And I'm going to get a little closer, because this drum, now a lot of guys, if the drum comes in intact, you weld it, which is fine. You want to weld it. They actually welded this one. I don't really know if it's a great job. I'm going to get a little closer, but the weld didn't hold and it still broke. But you want to get the OE drum, you want to continue to use it, you can put a bead around it, no problem. I don't have anybody that welds, so I have to change the drum. So when I change it, I'm going with an aftermarket drum, because it is made much, much better than the OE drum. And that is the reason for the video, because this is one of the first times where I'm recommending an aftermarket part over the OE part. So just to give you another little example, I was in trouble with a 62 TE. I had it on the bench. The rear planet was no good, and it was a Ram ProMaster, and it's on the lift, and it's going to stay on the lift until the transmission is done. And when it stays on the lift, the guy that works the lift can't do anything, so he sits there. So I had called my supplier and I said, I need a 62 TE rear planet really bad, it's no good. So he says, all right, the only thing I hear is an aftermarket. I said, all right, send it, let me just look at it and see how it is. Well, I'll tell you something, the thing was terrible. It's got a spline into the back of the transfer gear. It wouldn't even spline into the back of the transfer gear. It's terrible. So the next best thing was to get a Mopar Planet, which was, just a day away. UPS comes like at 9 in the morning, so I didn't have a choice. The thing was like $300, but it worked perfect. So that's kind of how I feel about OE stuff. That's usually what happens. It never works. But in this particular case, I'm recommending an aftermarket part on this transmission, because it's made really, really well. But again, You want to take the existing drum, you want to weld it, you're a good welder, no problem. I can't do that. And I don't really have anybody that, you know, really can weld around here that good. So I just get the drum because I need to get the job done and on. I got actually a waiting list for my drive-on lift. Once that unit is done, I got the next truck to come in. So I'm gonna get a little closer and show you, and also just to let you know, there's two different drums. I was talking to my supplier today. There's two different drums. He asked me, this was built already. This is a 2006, and there's, I believe, the 05, the 06, and 07 up. And the way I determined which one I had was I counted the splines on the Sun gear. On an early Sun gear, you're gonna have 38 teeth. On the later Sun gear, you're gonna have 41 teeth. This has 41 teeth. So I guess, like I said, this was done before. I don't know, maybe they just put the later setup in, maybe they had a unit on the shelf, put it in. I'm not really sure of the story, but bottom line, it's the later setup. So I got 41 teeth here. Also, I'll give you a close-up shot of this. These are the coast clutches, and this is the diode. Okay, another way to determine if you have the late or the early is you measure the thickness of this. Okay, and an early one, just don't hold me to these numbers, 623 thousandths, and the later one is maybe 660 or 662, but I have the later one here also, which also confirmed the later drum, so he had to send me the later drum. So there are two drums. So if you got it, you know, an 05, 06, 07 that you're working on, just double check by counting the Sun gear and measuring the thickness of the diode just to make sure you get the correct drum. All right, so let me get a little closer here. Let me kind of just show you this drum. Also, when a drum cracks, it takes the springs out and it takes the snap ring out. So I got these here as well in my order. And here is, I have the old set here. So let me get a little closer. We'll kind of just go over this. And I just wanted to make a quick video because, again, this is one of the first times when I would say to go aftermarket if you have to change the drum than the original OE drum. All right, let me get a little closer and we'll look at these parts. All right, so here is the drum that came out, that was broke, you know, that kind of was in two pieces, you know, when I took it apart. That's what it looked like, and you can see that whoever did the transmission last, you know, put some weld spots on. I think other guys, sometimes they may put like a whole bead around it, which is fine. You know, again, I'm not saying don't do that. If you're a good welder, by all means, it'd save you the cost of buying a drum. So this, you know, fits in here, and then when I took it apart, you know, you can see the thing was off. So right there, I know what I was dealing with. But I knew even before I took this apart what I was dealing with. So here is the Ford drum, and here, you know, you kind of got this area spaced right here, and that's always where the drum splits. Okay, usually takes the springs and the snap ring out. They always have to be replaced as well. So this is the new aftermarket drum, and this is Transtar's part number, and you see it begins with the letter A, which means aftermarket. And when I was asking my rep, you know, that's how I got into talk. That's how I got into the conversation with my rep about it. And he was telling me about the drum. He goes, "You should go with the aftermarket, not with the OE one." So this is it's almost like it's one piece. I mean, it's really, really a great design. He says he sells more of these than the OE ones, but this is almost just like a one-piece drum. Great design. All right, so this is brand new, out of the box, aftermarket, which I'll be putting in this car. All right, here is the Sun gear. It's got 41 teeth, so I'm going to kind of spline it into here, you know, and hit it down maybe with a dead blow hammer or something. I'm going to support it under here and hit this down. Okay, here's my new snap ring, my springs, and my new piston that came in the banner kit. Okay, also, again, here is the diode, and you want to measure the thickness to confirm, and also count the teeth on the Sun gear. You know, that'll tell you if you have early or late, because if you have an early setup, or you have you send you an early drum by accident, you put it together, you'll never get the snap ring in because the diode is too thick. So snap ring will never come in. So, you know, just be ready. But if it's like an 07 and up, 08, 09, you know, you definitely have the latest setup. But again, you know, the unit was worked on before, who the heck knows? So I just wanted to make a quick video. Again, 5R110W Coast drum. Super common problem of this drum splitting apart. You know, even if the drum is intact, if you're a good welder, you know, they'll put a nice bead around it, great. The thing is good, you know, you don't have to worry about it. But again, I'm not a welder, I don't really know anybody that can weld that great, so I just buy this one. It's kind of like a one-piece drum, aftermarket, and works fantastic. So just wanted to share my exception to the rule with this 5R110W. Thanks for watching, guys. Have a great day, and we'll see you next one.